Hello everyone, welcome to another episode with Finance Bros. I hope you enjoyed my last video and it was educational. The video we're going to discuss today is the stock market and we're going to try to get familiar with it for beginner investors. Alright guys, to start off I want to make sure everyone understands that I'm not a financial advisor and that you're responsible for the financial decisions that you make. Alright guys, today we're going through how to buy stocks utilizing the IRA or 401k, what a bull or bear market is, types of investments that you can make, uh, passive versus active investor, logic versus emotion, fundamental versus technical analysis, and a financial statement so people can understand what they're going through. Right, guys. So, how much money should you put in when you're starting off? You can really put in whatever amount you're comfortable with, and that's what I'd recommend. You can get used to the market even if you're not making a lot of money or still not losing a lot of money, and this is going to be good practice for the future. And as you get more used to it, you can put in more money in your account. All right, guys. For number one, we have how to buy stocks. You can Google this. You can find a bunch of websites that you can trade stocks on. You can even do it through your bank. I personally use Interactive Brokers because I think it's really good, and they have a lot of research on there. All right, guys. Up next, we're going to talk about where you should put your money. So you should probably put your money in a Roth IRA or 401k. For Canada, that would be TFSA or RRSP. We're going to start off with the Roth IRA and TFSA. So for the Roth IRA, basically you're investing after-tax dollars and any money you make in your account that's tax-free. So if you put in $100, you make $10 tax-free. You can take out 110 with no taxes at all. As for the 401k and RRSP, basically you're investing pre-tax dollars, so this ends up putting you in a lower bracket for your income, so you end up paying less taxes overall. But after you take your money out, you're going to get taxed on that. So you probably want to do that when you're retiring, so you're going to have an overall lower income. This way you're paying less taxes in your younger years when you're not making that much. And then you're also paying less taxes when you're older and you retire because you're making no other type of money. And this is going to put you in the lowest tax bracket and you're going to save the most amount of money overall. Now, both of these retirement accounts have a contribution limit, so you can only put in so much money. What you need to do is you should probably max out on both of them because it's going to save you a lot of money in taxes in the long run. Now, I'll be going through a few types of investments and I'll explain each one as I go so it makes more sense. First up, we have stocks. So, this is the most basic thing. Basically, you're buying a piece of the company. So when you buy a stock of Apple, basically own one share of Apple, and this means you have ownership equivalents to one share. So if there's 10 shares of Apple, you own 10% of Apple in that case. Next up, we have mutual funds. Basically, a mutual fund is when you contribute money to a pool of money that's contributed by other investors as well. And this is managed by a professional money manager. And basically, they use this money to invest in stocks, bonds, or anything else that they see fit. And you get a return based on how much money they make overall. Next up, we have index fund. Index funds are basically a basket of stocks. So, for example, the S&P 500 is combined of top 500 companies. So, when you're buying into that, you're not really buying one share of Apple. You're buying a piece of a share from every company in that basket. Up next, we have ETFs, which are basically index funds. And then we have bonds, which is when you lend someone some money and then they basically pay you that back with interest. In that case, that person is going to be a company. Up next, we have options. So basically, an option is a contract where you can buy 100 shares. So for every contract, it's 100 shares, and this lets you buy stocks at a future price for a premium. Now, there are two type of options: a call options and a put option. If you buy a call option, you're assuming the market is going to do well. There's going to be a bull run. If you're buying a put option, you're assuming the market is going to go down. It's going to be a bear market. These options give you the right but not the obligation to either buy or sell these shares based on if you have a call option or a put option. A call option gives a buyer the right but not the obligation to buy a stock within a specific amount of time if it goes over a specific price. For example, if you buy an option for the Apple stock at $20 and Apple ends up going up to $30, now you can make the difference. It's $10 times 100 shares. You're making $1,000. On the other hand, if it does go down instead of going up, you're just going to lose the premium that you paid for when you bought the option. The put option gives you the right but not the obligation to sell a stock at a specific price. And a put option is basically the opposite. You're expecting the market to go down. So if the Apple stock is at $20 right now and you buy a contract at $20, if it goes down to $10, the $10 difference is your profit, which is going to add up to $1,000. But if the stock price goes up instead, you're only going to lose the premium that you used to buy the option. Next, guys, we're going to go through passive versus active investing. So a passive investor is going to be investing in buckets. So anything that's already managed for him, for example, like S&P 500, mutual funds, very minimal research. An active investor is someone who's going to take more of an active approach where they're going to do a lot more research on the companies, or at least invest in specific indexes or ETFs. So this could be either, buying individual stocks like Apple, Amazon, or maybe even diversifying their portfolio. So maybe 25% indexes, the rest in individual stocks. And that would also include all the research they would do per company, like ratios, evaluations, any fundamental versus technical analysis. And it's also going to be qualitative versus quantitative. So based on how you want to invest and how much you want to put in, you should really decide in the start if you'd want to be a passive or active investor. If you're going to be a passive investor, you're probably looking at very little research per week, if any at all. If you're looking at active investing, you're probably going to be putting in a lot more time researching each company on its own. Next, guys, we're going to be talking about fundamental and technical analysis. And like I said before, this is going to depend on what type of investor you are, passive versus active. So first off, we're going to start with the fundamental analysis. First, fundamental analysis is analysis of like the business model, their financial statements, the market, state of economy, basically anything that would affect the company. And this can be quantitative or qualitative. If you're looking at quantitative, that's more number related. So you're looking at a balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, uh, any ratios that might help figure out what you're looking for. This could be the EPS ratio, which is earning per share, price earnings, debt to equity ratio, return on equity, and there are really a lot of ratios. It just depends on which ones you think you need to help you, value the company. Uh, and there's also like the increase year over year for profits revenues that could also help with the quantitative. As for the qualitative, you're looking at other stuff like management, size of the company, economy factors, maybe patents, brand name, business model, and maybe the competitive advantage as well. Next, we have technical analysis. Basically, you're evaluating investments by analyzing statistical trends gathered from previous trading activity, like movements and volume. And this can include anything from moving average, relative strength index, price trends, chart patterns like cup handle, head and shoulders, and support and resistance levels. Basically, you're not really relying on any fundamentals like the financial statements of the company or management of the team. You're only relying on these averages and just historical statistics. Last but not least, guys, we have the financial statements. You're going to be using these to get information for the company that you're looking at. This is going to help you with your evaluations and to see what the company is going through, like assets, equity, debt, everything like that. So first we have the income statement. Second, we have the balance sheet. And last, we have the cash flow statement. Income statement basically gives you any information about the company relating to their revenue and expenses. So the revenue is what money they bring in a company, sales of services or products. Expenses is anything that they use their money on that the company pays for to help them through their day-to-day operations, like office supplies, any other supplies that they need, any consumables. And then after that, you're looking at the income before tax. And after that, you deduct the tax, and that gives you your profit. This is really important because it lets you look at what the company is bringing in and what they're spending money on. And this lets you also judge if they're spending their money properly. And you can track these figures across multiple years, see if it's growing or going down. For example, if their revenue is going up, they're doing a lot better. And if the profit is going up, maybe expenses are going down. They're being more efficient with their resources. Balance sheet, you're going to be looking at their current assets, long-term assets, liabilities, current and long-term, and shareholders' equity. Now for here, the assets equal the liabilities and shareholder equity. For the assets, you can be looking at cash, accounts receivable, prepaid expenses, anything that is very liquid. Long-term assets are like equipment, so maybe like tractors, any equipment that would help them with production too. When you're looking at liabilities, that's anything that they have to pay, maybe payroll or anything like that, loans that they got from banks. And for shareholders' equity, you're going to be looking at the equity capital, which is how much money was invested for return of how much of the company that they got, the percent. The cash flow statement is going to be going through changes in balance sheet accounts and income effect cash and cash equivalents. And this breaks down in three categories: operating, investing, and financing. For the operating, you're going to be looking at any earnings, depreciation, accounts receivable, inventory, current assets. For the investing activities, you're going to be looking at anything like sales and equipment, or maybe them purchasing equipment. And this is a good spot to see how much they bought in that year or sold in that year in equipment. You're also going to be looking at the cash from financing. This can be any money coming in from line of credit, loans. This can be them paying back any debt, getting money from selling more shares, anything like that. Each statement, has its own uses. You can grab different figures from it to help you see what the company is worth, or see if you want to even buy it, see the debt they have, the assets. But you don't really need to use all the numbers from each statement. There are specific things that you could use if you want. For example, if you're looking at the income, you can look at the revenue. You can look at some expenses, or just even move on to profits. If you're looking at the balance sheet, you're going to be looking at their assets, and actually you're going to be looking at their total assets compared to their liabilities. See how much money they owe, and if they can actually pay it off over the years. Last but not least, guys, you can think of this as a bonus tip. And it's all about logic versus emotion, and what you're basing your decisions on. Are you basing your decision on a logical decision after you did some research, or is it based on emotion? Did the stock market just crash and then you panic sold everything? Really important, because a lot of people make mistakes here. If the market crashes, they end up panics selling and actually losing money. And if they waited, the market would have came back up and they would have actually made money. And this actually happened in COVID and will happen again eventually. So just think about your decisions logically, and don't do anything in a panic. Think about it and then react. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope it was helpful in some ways. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. If you have any feedback, you can also leave that in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening.